run this mother? Girls. Who run the world? 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 Girls. Who run this mother? Who run this mother? Who run this mother? Who run this mother? Who run the world? Girls. Who run the world? Girls. Who run the world? Girls. Who run the world? Girls.
Did you hear about Abraham Lincoln? How terrible!
Please, child. We both know that it's good for this wrecked country that awful man be gone. He started that terrible war for nothing.
How dare you! Lincoln was the finest leader this country has ever seen.
Calm down. Stop your complaining. We all know that you guys didn't even have it that hard in the war. Nurses were the hardest occupation. I was born on December 25th, 1821. Yup, that's right, Christmas Day. My parents named me Clarissa Harlow Barden, but most people know me by Clara Barden, or by my nickname, the Angel of the Battlefield. I was the youngest of all siblings when I lived in Oxford, Massachusetts, but it was okay, because my brothers and sisters taught me lots of stuff, like math and horseback riding, which actually came in handy later in the war. When I was little, I dreamed of fighting in the war as a soldier and fighting for what I believed in. My mom was a huge abolitionist and always spoke up for what she believed in. Being a shy person myself, this was one thing I really looked up to her for. Around the age of 11, I stopped wanting to fight in the war and I found my true passion, nursing. It was when my brother David fell off the barn roof and I alone was able to nurse him back to health. Can you imagine? An 11-year-old girl nursing someone back to health? What a rush! Once I started helping, I just couldn't stop. When I was older, I heard that soldiers were coming off the train in Baltimore. I was so excited. It was my chance to help more people. I went down there and started bandaging up all those soldiers. That was just the beginning, though. Once I heard the conditions in the actual war, I sent a request to the U.S. government to go down and bring supplies to the soldiers on the battlefield. I was so excited. It wasn't easy work, though. Nuh-uh, not at all. Me and those other 2,000 to 5,000 nurses, many from the U.S. Sanitary Commission, had to tend wounds, feed the soldiers, sometimes just keep them company. Heck, we did more than those male surgeons. It wasn't just white nurses, though. One of my assistants, Susie King Taylor, was an African-American woman. She helped me clean up those poor men in the 54th Massachusetts after they attacked Fort Wagner. Traveling through the night from battlefield to battlefield was tiring work, but it was worth it in the end, seeing all the gratitude we got from those soldiers. Boy, do I remember all those battles, especially Antietam. 80,000 soldiers fought there, and as I went down to give this nice young lad a glass of water, some damn Confederate shot a bullet straight through my sleeve. That didn't stop me, though. I went on and founded the American Red Cross in 1881. Man, those were the days.
Excuse me, man, but you don't even know what hard work is. Just fixing up those soldiers? Try being one. Every day outside on that battlefield with the men, you have to have courage, stamina, and a will to fight for your country, the Confederacy.
The Confederates lost. Loser!
Don't interrupt! Rude. Although not American-born, I have the pride of a true Southern girl. I was born in Cuba on June 26, 1842, and my parents had enough money to send me to a wealthy reform school in New Orleans when I was 13, and I stayed with my aunt. Then I fell in love and was eloped a year later. When Texas seceded in 1861, my husband, who was a Texas Army officer, was upped into the Confederacy. I was eager to join my husband on the battlefield, fearing the separation that was inevitable when he went off to battle. But of course, being the sexist man that he was, thought a woman was too weak and vulnerable to be a soldier. Sweet Lord, did I prove him wrong. I didn't listen to him, though, of course, and had a local seamstress make me a set of 2 Confederate uniforms, and I soon disguised myself as a man named Harry T. Buford. It wasn't easy, but I had my skill and intellect and my ability to trick, and I actually moved up through the ranks to lieutenant. Golly, was that a shocker, but when I brought a cavalry from Texas, my husband didn't even guess it was me. Can't say I blame him, though. I was awfully convincing. But the poor man was killed later in a complete accident. After I fought in the Battle of Bull Run, I discovered I could easily slip out of camp, steal some women's clothing, and complete espionage work in Washington, D.C. for the Confederacy. Woo-wee, what a rush it was. I quickly regained my agenda as Lieutenant Buford, but I got injured in the foot in February of 1862. I couldn't risk exposure of my identity if I stayed for medical treatment, so I did something I'm not proud of, but I fled back to New Orleans. But them idiots arrested me thinking I was a Yankee, so of course I was fined for impersonating a man. But that didn't stop me, and soon I got back to my original recruitment, and I fought with my boys in the Battle of Shiloh. But after an explosion during burial detail, I was discovered and released from the Confederate Army. I still offered my spy services and worked extensively until I married Confederate Captain Thomas DeKalb, who also died in war. I've been moving around a lot since then. I've also been thinking about writing a memoir of my life, to encourage those who I was close to and lost because of them awful Yankees, but also as a tribute to the other women who went out into the battlefield and risked everything. None of y'all come even close to that.
That's all you did? Do you know what really needs courage, stamina, and willpower? Risking your life every day to help slaves escape from slavery. Yeah.
Are you the one who helped my granddaddy's slaves escape?
Yes, I'm proud of it. I was born into slavery in Maryland. I had 11 brothers and sisters on the plantation I worked on. My parents named me Araminta Ross, with the nickname of Minty. You can clearly see why I changed it. I married John Tubman and decided to take the names of the people I loved most, Harriet, my mother, and Tubman after my husband. When I was a tween, I got hit on the head with a 2-pound weight for trying to defend and help a fellow slave from being maliciously beaten by the slave owner. That thing kept me unconscious for a few days, but then I eventually got better. Ever since then, though, I've never been 100% okay. The slave owners threatened to sell me and some of my siblings, so I ran. It was 1849, I believe. Followed that shining North Star all the way to Philadelphia. Once there, I got a position as a housekeeper. I even got paid for the work I did. What a concept. Anyways, freedom was too sweet to indulge in it alone, so I went back to get my sister and her 2 kids. The next time I went back was to bring my husband, but he decided to find another wife. I was livid, but it didn't matter because I was free and he ain't. And I just kept going back. I went back 19 times and helped over 300 slaves escape. If some fugitives had second thoughts about escaping or were too tired to keep going, I would pull out my gun and say, "You'll be free or die." It seemed to work because I never lost a single passenger. Sorry, I just blinked. Damn head. Oh, because I made the slave owners lose so much money, the South wanted me so bad. I had a price on my head for $40,000 in 1856. Imagine that. During the Civil War, I served as a spy, cook, nurse, and I even planned a raid for the Union. Yup, I was the first African-American woman to do that, and in the process I freed 700 slaves. My pal John Brown called me one of the bravest persons on this continent. Others called me Moses. Either way, I am honored and proud to have these titles. On my grave, I'd like to have Servant of God, well done. But it won't matter because 1, I can't read, and 2, I'll be dead. Nowadays, I feel bad for the women still stuck in the South. There are black women who are single mothers and who are struggling for their rights. Their children are being subjected to apprenticism, and they can't do nothing about it. But most women did find jobs, I guess. Anything is better than slavery, so it's a move forward. I mean, black women were working in the factories. By gosh, that's what white women did in the North. The Civil War brought justice upon my people. Women have jobs now, and they know how to fight for their rights. Justice is not nearly at the level it should be at. But if we keep fighting, I know we can get it there. We've come a long way, my friends. I remember it so well.
Y'all should stop your whining. Do you know how hard it is to be this beautiful? All I ever wanted to do was to serve my term and be a nurse. But all these men kept fighting over me. My life has been a challenge from the beginning. I grew up as an orphan in my hometown, Cambridge, Massachusetts. I was only 19 when war broke out in 1861. I simply wished to be an army nurse, but those awful men accused me of being a spy. They sentenced me to jail. Jail is no place for a woman. At least the jail keeper recognized that and let me stay in a rooming house. Certainly much better than the prison. I stayed there until a kind man by the name of Fernando Wood, personally spoke with President Lincoln and Secretary of War Edwin Stanton on behalf of my release. Fortunately, they pitied me, and I was freed. They should not have needed to pity me. I was guilty of absolutely nothing. Expressing my affection should not necessarily make me a spy. I even swore that I was only a companion to the various commanding officers. Not only that, but I became a daughter of the regiment, which pretty much meant that I had to cook and mend the soldiers' clothes, just like any other woman. That won't be the first time I was in jail. I was imprisoned for being George Custer's mistress. General Kilpatrick was just jealous of George that he had my attention. George knew I wasn't a spy, but he didn't speak so fondly of me at times. I wanted to distinguish myself from other women. I wanted to be someone that was to be remembered. In any case, I was released on parole. I could not go back to Virginia, but I simply could not stay away. They caught me and sent me to Cape Cod. I was a prisoner there. I had no money, dirty clothes, and merely one Shakespeare book. I was among strangers. I learned that book by heart. It was so lonely there. I asked Wood to help me out, and he ever so kindly agreed. I must admit that I participated in activities that were generally frowned upon by the generals themselves, but I was poor and desperate.
Oh.
Yeah, you think you had it rough? I was jailed by those cruel men for no reason.
Hate to go like this, but I got a trade to catch.
Yeah, I have a Red Cross meeting. BRB.
Hold on, I gotta update my Twitter. Just resolve conflict with the girls. Hashtag Civil War Project. It's okay, honey. At least you weren't Native American.
Have you ever heard the wolf cry to the blue corn moon, or asked the grinning bobcat why he grinned? Can you sing with all the voices of the mountain? Can you paint with all the colors of the wind? Can you paint with all the colors of